Welcome to OnlySlams. To guide you through the French Open, here are Gregg Rosenthal and Glenn Clark.
Episode number 3 of OnlySlams. We can't get canceled because who would cancel us? Greg, here's the thing about working in radio is that you perpetually worry about that for your entire life. And I don't have to worry about that because this is just for us, which is really nice.
Well, us and the couple hundred fans. Check it out on YouTube. Thanks for subscribing, and we're gonna get this on the podcast stream soon enough.
Yep, we're working on that. There's a process, but I think I'm through it. And like I said, we've said it a number of times. Give us to Wimbledon. We'll have it all solved for Wimbledon. All right.
We're like Federer, and that gets us. We're like Federer. We're using the French Open as a warm up.
It is interesting you would bring that up, Greg.
Love.
As we start there, we start with the two big stars that went out of the tournament this weekend in different fashions, as both Roger Federer and Serena Williams, who are both approaching 40 years old, did not manage to last into the second week. Now, Roger Federer, I guess, technically did. He just chose to take himself out before the second week. Serena Williams goes down. And neither, if we'd gone back to when we did our first show, if we had said then, hey, we've seen the future, neither Roger Federer nor Serena Williams are playing the second Monday, we'd both say, yeah, okay, that's probably about right. I think the two situations, I think the Serena Williams side is disappointing, not because Serena Williams isn't going to win the French Open. It would have been insane for us to think that Serena Williams was going to win the French Open. It's disappointing because we started to allow ourselves to believe, gee, gosh, this might be the thing that she needs, is just a tournament that completely breaks for her. Things were going her way, and as it turns out, she just still didn't have it.
Yeah, it was tough how meekly she went out. Yep. And I'm glad we're going to tackle her first, because to me, she seems more straightforward. Federer, on the other hand, I have a couple conspiracy theories. So
okay.
That's a tease right there. But Serena, I was more disappointed because you mentioned the draw breaking open for her. The only seeded players left on that side of the draw are Rybakina, who she just lost to, and Pavlyuchenkova. So like that is a ticket to the finals in theory, but there's a reason why Serena wasn't like a huge favorite in any of these matches, betting wise either, which is because she just didn't look like she had it. And so I think she's going to be happy with what she got out of this tournament, which was that she played a couple really good matches. I think the way she came back against Collins, I watched that second set, and she looked awesome. She looked pretty good in the second round. The problem is with Federer and Serena, and this is going to be Serena's problem at Wimbledon too, is at that age, you can bring out your best stuff sometime, or even your B+ stuff is good enough for Serena. But can you do it for 7 straight weeks playing 7 straight matches playing every other day? That's tough. And it just seemed like that was not Serena out there against Rybakina. I did not think Rybakina played that well. We'll put a pin in that until we talk the quarterfinals, but I just think she was kind of there and was solid, had some firepower, but it was more Serena lost it than Rybakina.
Let Serena break back multiple times. Yeah. Like, you kept thinking, you and I were actually texting during the match. We kept thinking like, oh, here it is. Like, here's the moment. And it was just never to be there. I'm with you. I thought that the story there was way more about Serena and it just not being the case. And that, to me, I remember you and I talking during the Australian Open, and I said, I didn't think the Australian Open was representative of the idea that Serena Williams can't win a Grand Slam. In fact, I thought, to me, it was more encouraging that she could, because she still proved herself to be capable of beating top players in consecutive matches in a short time frame. And so, if you can do that and get some breaks in the draw, then it's still possible.
Absolutely. Anyone who disagrees with that's insane. I really think.
Right. And I'm not telling you she will, but, believe it or not, I can't see the future. My bank account knows as much. But like, I thought that was the case in Australia. This one is, if you want an example of, hey, yeah, but it's still going to be really hard, I think this can follow that up, just because even when you get the breaks, you're still dealing with, you're playing against yourself. You're playing against the way that, biology works, which is, you're not supposed to be able to do this at this point in your life.
sluggish conditions. This is not going to be her Grand Slam regardless.
No.
And she wasn't in good form at all coming into this match 1-2 on clay. So the fact that she won 3 matches, a couple against decent opponents, I think she feels good. She feels like she got some match play, and it just was a warm-up tournament, which is why, the Serena and Federer things fit well together. It's so funny for these all-time greats to be using a Grand Slam as a warm-up. But it absolutely was. She's just trying to get in form for Wimbledon. And if you're a Serena fan out there, I would not be surprised if she goes deep into Wimbledon and looks good. I will be curious to see if she plays a warm-up tournament to Wimbledon. She didn't used to. My guess is that she will this year.
Yeah.
Just to get some matches on the grass, because it's not the same Serena. I don't think she feels like she can just show up and go win a Grand Slam these days.
I tend to agree with you. All right, now on to Roger Federer. Based on what I saw from you on Twitter, I think what you're about to tell me is that you believe Roger Federer pulling out of the French Open might be a little bit of a middle finger towards them sticking him in that Saturday night empty arena match.
That actually would be my third. Yeah, that would be my third conspiracy theory.
Okay.
That was more of a joke. But I do think the timing of it made it easier for him to pull out. Now, if he had been like the first or second match on the day, he knows he has a longer time to recover. And he's like, really? You're going to make me go to bed? Because he's got to do everything that happens after the match. Then he's got to do media. And it's like, you're going to bed at 4:30 or 5 in the morning. You got to wake up. It messes up your whole week when you're old. You know that, Glenn.
Yeah. Oh, do I ever, Greg?
Wait, how old are you?
I ever? I'm 37. So I'm close enough. Yeah.
I'm 42. So it's like, that messes up his whole week. Yeah, and he knew he was out of gas. And part of that conspiracy theory though is that Peacock in NBC knocked Federer out of the tournament. I mean, that would be my theory essentially, because I think this whole we're gonna play at 9 p.m. local time in France, which is 3 p.m. Eastern time, and we're gonna do it despite having no one in the crowd, is very much about the American broadcasting.
It's about NBC wanting to suck a couple few more bucks. I don't know.
And that they're requesting and they want Federer in that spot.
Correct. Because there's some tennis fan somewhere that
knocked your boy out. NBC knocked your boy out. Okay. And maybe we'll get to Peacock a little later. And then my third conspiracy theory, I believe this one the most, is Federer looked at the draw and Berrettini's up next, and he sees Djokovic sitting there too, and he's like, "Hey, I might as well. I'm gonna let Matteo get a nice day off." Because now Berrettini's gonna Berrettini's gonna have a better chance to take out Djokovic. I'm not gonna bother to tire myself out and him out, hurt myself. I'll give him a better shot.
You think it's about protecting 20? You think it's about protecting Djokovic from being able to
a little bit of spite? That was. I'm not saying that's the whole reason, but it was just a little extra. It's just let's let Berrettini have 3 days rest going against Djokovic.
All right, this is the real question. Where does you kind of believe it meet? I really want that to be the truth of what happened.
Yeah, all of that.
That you really just want it to be that Roger Federer is playing the role of Lori Petty
here's the thing. He is looking at the draw and he knows his body's not doing well. He knows he's not going to beat Djokovic. So but he doesn't want to withdraw before playing Djokovic either, because that looks like you're ducking him.
You're just ducking him, right?
So it's just we just got our 3 matches in. And by the way, French Open, I like you and everything, but I'm going to treat you as some 250 tournament right before a Grand Slam where everyone pulls out. It is very interesting. If a different player anyone but Federer did this, I think they'd get criticized a little bit for it. For, competitive play, and, you're kind of just messing up the tournament a little bit to win 3 matches and then pull out.
2 things quickly. One, do you think he plays Paris again next year?
If he's healthy, yeah. I do kind of think he's going to keep playing as long as his body lets him. So I think he wants to do it in front of the fans. Yep. Get a real goodbye.
I agree with that. I don't think this is it for him. And then the second part of it, do you think he was beating Berrettini anyway?
No.
I don't either. I don't think he was beating Berrettini anyway. So
And I think if he thought he was, like, if he had another Cupfer on the docket, no offense to my fellow Tulane product. How about that?
I didn't know that.
He
I
went
did
to
not
Tulane.
know that.
I just learned that this tournament
How about
too.
that? Okay.
I used to see all these like 6'5" Swedish dudes on the
They were just hanging out. Yeah.
Cupfer doesn't really fit that mold. He's shorter and he's German, so it doesn't totally fit. But there's all these like,
I had no idea that
so
the
many
Tulane
Danish
tennis program. I didn't know that was a thing.
They're kind of a juggernaut. They're good.
Wow. Well, that's very cool. All right.
By the way, Fed fans, just like Serena, even more than Serena, I think they should feel really good going into Wimbledon. I think
he played well.
I think he looked good in this tournament, and I was so down on him coming in, and now I'm thinking, okay, maybe if few things broke right, he actually could compete and win a Wimbledon. Maybe.
I think the tougher side of that is that, like, what's he up against? And that's the trickier part for me. Is it? I think that
Wimbledon is where maybe the draw could break open a little bit. And the dog goes out early. That he'll need some help, but I think he'd have a chance. He was hitting the ball great.
All right. No, you're right. He was hitting the ball really well. All right. 15 low. So let's stay on the men's side and let's take a look at what we've got left as we are on to the quarterfinals of the French Open. I think that when we start a tournament we just assume it's basically one guy's tournament to win. We can't be all that surprised when we look at this and say, boy, it really looks like it's one guy's tournament to win. But that's the reality. It looks like it's still one guy's tournament to win. I think the big story to me, Greg, the run for the Italians, I know it was disappointing because Sinner, after flashing a little bit in the first set and getting those back-to-back breaks and taking a big lead, you thought maybe you thought maybe he had something in the tank to make that exciting, entertaining. Not the case. I still think that there's a lot to like about Sinner. I still think he's the real deal, especially on clay. I'm not down on him as a whole. I think Diego Schwartzman's a hell of a player, and that can be competitive in moments, but let's not kid ourselves. Rafael Nadal is going to beat Diego Schwartzman. There's no question about that. I think Berrettini can compete with Djokovic. I really do. I think Berrettini, especially with the extra rest, and seeing a Novak Djokovic that was in a lot of danger through 2 sets. I mean, like, it's not just, and I know you told me that you woke up late. So I'm
on the West Coast. I woke up.
Yeah. Well, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
2 sets and a break. It was like 7 a.m. Yeah.
So,
I mean, then he was up a break in the third, and you were already like, okay, he broke him in third.
He's good. Right. Correct. Yeah. He's not. And that's the way it went. Even at 2 sets down, I wasn't all that concerned. But early in the first game of the third set, he looked like it was getting to him. He looked, oh God, was it Query that he lost to, or was it Fish that he lost to at Wimbledon? Remind me. Query, right. Remember how in that match you just kept looking and you're like, something's wrong. Like, he's just not, to take nothing away from Query, and it was a remarkable victory for him, easily the best win of his career. But like, there was just something about Djokovic. You were like, what? And now you know more about his personal life and some of the stuff that was going on, or we think we know anyway. But like, he just didn't look right. And early in the third set today, he didn't look right. Now, it changed in an effing hurry, and he won like 33 of the next 37 points or something like that. It changed remarkably quickly. But I think Berrettini can give Djokovic some problems.
Absolutely. Berrettini's got a big game. The ladies love him. I mean, he needs a breakout in a Grand Slam to really consolidate what's been a good couple of years for him, where he's a top 10 player. I mean, but I'm telling you, like, the ladies really love him.
All right.
I'm just saying, he can, like, that could be good for men's tennis. Who needs another Djokovic match? Here's the thing though, isn't that what makes Djokovic? He always puts himself into a corner and puts all these obstacles up and makes himself crazy, like makes his family hate him, or he makes the fans hate him. And he just like, and then that's the moment where suddenly it's like he turns from Bruce Banner into the Incredible Hulk, and he wins 37 out of 44 points.
You're right.
And then you feel silly for like ever down.
Why would I have ever? No doubt.
I truly think he's gonna go down as the most accomplished and best, having the most hardware, in tennis history. And it's frustrating. I think Berrettini can absolutely give him a good match. But the whole idea of Nadal came into this French not looking as good, like, to me, that's over.
Oh, no,
he looks just as good.
My God, is that over?
It's such a mountain to take him for a set. So I do think that it's underrated that, like, yeah, beating Nadal and Clay is really hard in other places, but it's different in Paris because it's 3
5
out of
sets.
5. And more importantly, there's just something about him there where even just taking a set off him, Sinner had to work so hard, and it looked like he was going to do it. And we've seen this so many times, even in this tournament, and they can't even finish off that first set. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Diego battles his brains out to win one set off Nadal, but he's not going to do it 3 times.
No.
And it sets up, Nadal Djokovic probably in the semis, which will feel like the final, but you never know.
I don't mean to skip over Zverev Fokina, but I mean, I think it would be.
I'm gonna say one thing. The betting markets have been weirdly putting Zverev way below Tsitsipas this whole tournament as the winner of that half of the draw. I think Zverev came into this tournament looking just as good, if not better, and looks awesome. So I really dislike Zverev. I think he's a good villain to root against. Yep. But I wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being Zverev getting through to the final after the other two beat each other up.
And that's the point, especially if we assume that the other quarterfinal is going to be it's a night match, it's a barn burner, they go at it for 5 sets, and if Zverev is able to calmly work his way past Fokina, and I think that's what most of us assume, it sets up well for him to be sitting there to try to pick off whoever wins that match. And I'm with you that we're assuming it's going to be Tsitsipas. But let's talk more about, I think the Medvedev story, to me, is the story of the men's draw. Because, when we did our preview show, you were talking about him doing the Roberto Duran thing, the no mas thing. That's how much he hated the clay. He wanted no mas. He wanted out. He was so, just ripped apart by playing on clay that we expected nothing from him. Nothing going into this French Open.
He might have done that on purpose.
Maybe you think it was a whole rope-a-dope? You think it was an entire rope-a-dope?
Maybe even to himself, but he seems like that. Man, is he a interesting,
he's so
intelligent,
isn't he?
Character. So it wouldn't surprise me if he had to almost psych himself out or in. Because like Nadal, after one match, it was like, okay, I'm not worried about that. He came into the French a little off form. That part's over. After Medvedev won a match, I think the whole story of him not being able to win on clay or the French Open is over. And so I don't understand why he's a big underdog against Tsitsipas. It seems crazy to me. He's owned Tsitsipas. We have bullet points on this. I think it's 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7, including in Australia. And mentally, it really seems like he has an edge where he can kind of mess around with Tsitsipas. I'm so disappointed this is the night match. The night match is a travesty. Maybe we'll talk about it later, but it's just stupid that they're playing these matches with no crowds. You should have buried Zverev on this match. No one cares about that match.
So they have
this match needs a crowd. Tsitsipas Medvedev, to me, is the match of the tournament. And to me, it might still be like by the time we get the finals, just because I've seen Nadal win easy so many times. How can any of his matches be
this might be the only like real 5-set thriller we get between two high-level players.
Maybe could be too.
Right, maybe. By the way, looking at the head-to-head, you referenced obviously Australia. The only time they met before on clay, Medvedev won. That's like Tsitsipas's win wasn't even on clay. It was on it was indoors. It was in the ATP finals in 2019.
It's a huge moment for both these guys because Tsitsipas really is getting to the point where he's starting to lose his mind that he can't break through in these Grand Slam moments because he puts himself in position over and over and over and over again. And to me, his biggest rival is Medvedev. And so if he's just keeps getting the short end of that stick, like it's a bigger match for him, I think. Especially
on his preferred surface, like especially in this situation, like it really, at some point it becomes, will I ever beat this guy? Like, will I, and I know he's got a win, but will I ever be able to consistently beat this guy? Or will he always hold it over me? I don't disagree.
I hope the winner of that makes the finals though, man. I hope it's not Zverev or Fokina Davidovich. We're gonna start calling him. I heard people calling him ADF.
So all right, I'm good with
Alexander
that.
Davidovich.
So good with that. So good with that.
That's good.
All right, let's jump to the other side.
30 love.
So women's quarterfinals, we have to admit something. We are taping just slightly before the last match of the day on Monday ended. I would like to do the bit where we just go ahead and pretend. Let's just be honest about it. We're assuming that Swiatek is going to finish this off and is going to get her spot in. She was tested a bit in the first set. She handled it well. Give Kostya credit. She's looked great all tournament. She didn't really even back down. It's just that Swiatek really raised her game to finish off the first set. So I'm willing to work under the assumption that it's going to be Swiatek in the quarterfinals as we have this conversation.
Yes, I am too. And she just broke as we're talking in the second set. And it gives me a chance to talk about how Swiatek has gotten to that special level of at least sports star that for now, like her blowouts are entertaining. I'm into it. Like to me, she's so good. I don't even need it to be competitive. It reminds me of like the Seahawks Broncos Super Bowl, which not many people probably remember fondly.
Oh, it was gross.
Here's the thing though, and maybe it's being there live. Sometimes blowouts are entertaining. Like Halep beating Serena, even though I'm a Serena fan, to me that was entertaining because it was like when someone is just redlining and is just on fire like that, like the Seahawks were that night, or Swiatek is basically every match in France. I find that entertaining. It's just like watching someone at the absolute peak, and I haven't seen it that much with her because it's only her, second time mowing through this tournament that I'm into it. So if she just mows through the rest of the tournament, I will be entertained by that, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's exactly what happens, even though I know she got tested today.
I'm trying to pull this up. I saw a statistic that like in the sets that she's actually lost, she's been basically shut out. Like if she wins 2 games,
that was it. If she wins 2 games, she's won every set she's ever played at the French Open.
That's unreal. Like it's just unreal. And I think it was Courtney Wynn maybe that had that for. I don't remember who that I saw that tweet that from, but I know they referenced it too on the broadcast as I was watching as well. And I was
and she has so much Nadal to her game. It's really interesting because on some level, she's not like a big muscular Spanish.
No,
it
no,
looks very different. But
no.
He's spoken a lot about how Nadal is her hero, and between that forehand and the spin she has on her serve, and I don't know, I think she just plays in the same way that people loved Federer for playing an aesthetically pleasing brand of tennis.
Yep.
I think she is like that in her own way, but it looks pretty out there.
All right. The story of the women's draw, separated from Swiatek, of course, is Coco Gauff. And we kind of referenced this again as the tournament began. You had to take notice of what she was doing and acknowledge that she was knocking on the door of a breakthrough. And when we said that, we weren't suggesting she was going to win the French Open, although if we're being fair, it's not impossible.
Although I did tweet in the middle of her second round match.
I did see that.
She's going to the semis.
You did call that.
Pretty good
right now. You did call that. But we both acknowledged that going to the tournament, that the way she was playing, you had to take notice. It wasn't just a nice story anymore. She really was playing like someone who was ready to truly break through and was playing pretty well on clay, like really was playing quite well on clay. That now we're here now. She's in the quarterfinals. She's got a tremendous chance to move on to the semifinals, as you predicted she would. I'm not prepared to tell you, first, I'm not prepared to tell you she's definitely going to win even her quarterfinal. I'm sure as hell not prepared to tell you that she's ready to compete with Swiatek.
What is your scouting report of Krejcikova?
She played quite well today. That's about all I can tell you. Did you hear the story, though? That she was in like a bad mental place when she woke up today and apparently said that she was like prepared to not play the match. Go back and find her post-match press conference.
And then she crushed Sloane. Yeah, she's like a doubles player who's been near the top of the rankings in doubles, almost quit singles just because it was like too hard to do both. But that's a winnable match for Coco. And I think she will win because the one thing I'm impressed with Coco is no situation seems foreign to her. She's such a veteran. If you haven't really jumped upon the Coco Express yet, and I wouldn't blame you, she's only 17 and she hasn't been in the Grand Slam in big spots like this yet. She almost plays like a 31-year-old veteran that doesn't have the biggest weapons on tour and firepower, but kind of beats you with her mind and like adjusting each tournament, which is just kind of crazy for a 17-year-old to play that way. But that's what she's been like. She is not like the biggest hitter of all these young women by any means. It's her serve and it's her like competitiveness and intelligence, I think, that does it.
I agree on all of those things. I also think the results buoy her, right? Like it was one thing for her to start that way and it make no sense. Now it's I've beaten Naomi Osaka. Like I can beat anyone. There's no one that I can't beat.
But she's also built it up in the way that that pros that have staying power do so. Like sometimes people come like a comet out of nowhere, go right into the top 10 or win a big tournament and they can't stay there.
Right.
She's been building up her career like the ones that end up staying around in the top 10 for a while, except she's doing it from ages 15 to 17.
Insane.
Like she's steadily building from like 70 to 50. And then she stayed in the top 50, even staying in the top 50. I thought was impressive. Now she's going to be top 20, top 15. And it's just like, she's so legit. I don't know what her ceiling is, but I think it's safe to say now she's, I think, going to be a top 10 type of player for a long time and a really entertaining American one in the way that like I never totally felt Sloane and Keys were definitely going to be. That's sort of what I mean in terms of like building.
No, I agree. Right. It's
like
one thing to be someone who can every now and then break through and make a final, or Sloane obviously won a Grand Slam. It's a completely different thing to be someone who is a threat to win every tournament.
Right. Who's more of like a Kvitova. Like some of them don't have that many Grand Slams either, like a Kvitova or Halep who have 2, 3, whatever, but they're always in the top 10. Coco, to me, that's what she's plays like. That's what she's going to be like.
She is.
And I think she's going to win this match, and then she'd probably get Swiatek after that. And if nothing else, that's a match, American tennis fans should get behind. That's fun. A
couple of things. Sakkari absolutely picked apart Sofia Kenin. I mean, it was a bloodbath. I mean, Kenin, to her credit, like was down 2 breaks in the second set and didn't quit. Like stayed around, got a break back to extend the match a little bit. But I mean, it was a bloodbath. And I do.
I'm very interested to watch that match, Swiatek Sakkari, in the next match. Assuming that happens, I think each of these matches will get a little tougher for Iga until the finals, when maybe, who knows, the finals is going to be a weird one.
That being said, we've talked about it every time we've done this show. Who's your updated pick to come out of the bottom half of the draw?
Yeah, my Kasatkina pick went up in big flames. I know this happens sometimes on the women's draw lately in the last 5 years or so, but there's never been a draw like this. This is the record number of first-time quarterfinalists in any Grand Slam ever, male or female.
Wow.
6 first-time quarterfinalists in the Open era, including 3 on that side. My pick is Pavlyuchenkova, Pavs.
Yeah.
Who I've heard her a little bit in post-match. She's beaten the best players. She beat Tomljanovic, who's good in the second round. She rolled Sabalenka. She beat Azarenka. And I wasn't that impressed by Rybakina, despite her beating Serena last time. So I think she's going to get through. She's the kind of like veteran, almost a Marianne Bartoli, who's been around, made a lot of quarterfinals in her career, and is playing at her very best in this tournament. And I think like the experience maybe gets her to the finals. And who knows, she's got kind of a boomer bust game that could make it fun.
I think that's a very safe pick and probably a wise one, but it's wrong. It's wrong because Paula Badosa is the story of the tournament, Gregg Rosenthal, and is frankly the story of my life. It's very awkward for everyone else in my life right now because I don't want to talk about any. My younger son celebrated his 4th birthday on Sunday, and he said, "Dad, can we go do something?" I said, "I'm sorry, boy, no. Paula Badosa is playing tennis, and that's what I do now. Is I watch her play tennis." I was trying to explain to you. I just happened to be on Friday. The Badosa Bogdan match was the only match left for the day, other than the night match. And this is the awful part of the night match now, is that like you're sort of stuck with it. And at first I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get some work done. No offense to these ladies, but this is going to allow me the opportunity to do anything else. And then I start looking up and I'm like, who is this superstar? Like, who is this this absolute, like, model's the wrong word, because it's not just that she's physically attractive. It's that she has a look that is $1 million look. And you're like, who is this person? Which one of them is it? And I find out it's Badosa, and I say, I need to know more. And then this match that I cared nothing about, less than nothing, Badosa and Bogdan, becomes the match of the tournament just becomes this unbelievable. She faces match point. She battles back from it. I can't turn away from it. It's that theater that I talked to you about. It's that gripping. How do you look away from this thing? She got blitzed in the first set. She battles back, forces a tiebreak in the second set. Just phenomenal. Just cannot stop watching. She is a star. Now, I have no idea if she's got staying power, if she'll be relevant whatsoever when we get to Wimbledon. But if she is, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention. I'm all aboard the Paula Badosa train. And will continue to work to make sure I get her name correctly because, again, as of 5 days ago, I had no idea who she was, but she's the most important person in my life now moving forward.
I love it. I love your love of her.
So excited.
And I'm with you. Sometimes you never know when the match of the tournament's going to pop up, but you sort of, or one of the matches of the tournament.
Right.
But you know it when you see it. Everyone who watched that match said the same thing. I follow a lot of people on tennis Twitter. I wish I saw it.
It makes no sense. It was just the match that they had to put on because there were no other matches going on. If the Bryan brothers still played, they would have found a reason to put the Bryan brothers match on at the same time. If there was anyone relevant playing doubles, they would have just put that match on instead. And I just would have watched that match because I was not inclined to go find the Badosa Bogdan match for any reason. Oh right. My God, I've never been happier to have such dumb luck. It was phenomenal.
So she's 23 years old. So she's not, I thought she was older than that. So I was like, is she, sometimes when they break out too old, you're like,
right. Yeah, it's not real. Really. Right.
But coming into this tournament, if you were doing the power rankings of players on clay after Barty, Sabalenka and Swiatek, I think you probably would have included Goff, Badosa, and probably Krejcikova, who had great results this year too. So, and they're all, so it's not a total shock. Like if you look at the form of the last month, Badosa has as many clay wins as anyone.
And I believe she won the juniors too a few years ago.
She won the juniors too here. So she has as good a chance as anyone. I hope it's her versus Pavlyuchenko. I want to see one of those two in the finals. It's crazy. But that would be fun. Badosa, you just convinced me. I'm now with you. For the sake of the show, I'm now rooting for her.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited about Paula Badosa. It's all I'm going to want to talk about if you see me on the streets. Just approach, say, can we talk about Paula Badosa? Yes, forever. Forever. We can discuss Paula Badosa. All right, and now let's try this.
40 love.
Let's just do a potpourri thing to wrap up this one, Greg, because I feel like there's a lot of small things I wanted to touch on. You let me know this morning that not only is the Coco Gauff thing cool because Coco Gauff's in a Grand Slam quarterfinal, but there's other good news that comes along with it.
I don't even know what you're talking about here.
She's in the Olympics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah, you told me that. You scooped me on it.
My brain power, the short attention span. I wonder why that is. It's short memory. I am excited that she's completing the group going to the Olympics. It's her, Brady, Kenin, and Serena. So that's perfect. The qualification for the Olympics is confusing. You have to be in the top 56. You can only send 4 per country. It's weird, but it's cool that Coco is gonna make it there. I'm not sure about the double, like who's gonna be making it for doubles.
And that's the thing I was trying, because I know for mixed doubles they just took like early losers basically and paired them up.
Right. And like, look for the Olympics though, even more than the French, missing the crowd is gonna kill it. It was gonna be so special.
I know this ends up getting, it's very personal.
No, I know. I had the tickets and can't go, but I also think, it's just, I think a lot of players, might not play in it, that, the ones that have no chance to win. We know Riley Opelka is not, like the ones that are you going to make the trip, do this crazy quarantine to play in front of no fans? It's a shame because, as big a star as Osaka is in Japan, I mean, she's not like a fraction of what Nishikori is in terms of like the attention that he gets, and so that it's kind of a tennis, he helped tennis explode there. And that would have been really cool to see. Like he is covered there in a way that probably no American athlete is covered here, but the closest thing would be, like LeBron or someone like that.
Is Matsuyama, the golfer, is he anything similar to that?
I mean, they're very into golf in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
but not at that level. So that's too bad. But who knows? I'm a little down on NBC right now because of this whole situation that we've been talking about with Peacock. Now, on one hand, it's like, I guess it worked. I did download Peacock for.
Oh, you didn't have it before?
I didn't have it.
Okay.
And you had to get the 7-day free trial to get this tournament. I think I'm going to cancel it after that, but yeah, you had to get it. So I guess that worked. But this whole thing of with no crowd there, it's insane. I don't know if it's the French organizers' fault or Peacock's, but it's stupid.
I imagine this was NBC saying we are still in the infancy of Peacock. We need more assets that will force people like Gregg Rosenthal in order to grab Peacock. You mean you don't mean that like they don't extend an offer to former employees or anything like that? What a terrible thing.
Sure, I did used to work there.
I'm guessing that's all that it is. It does suck. Now I happen to. I'm a glutton for as much streaming content as I can possibly get. I enjoyed the television program AP Bio, and so that's the only place where you can watch it now is on Peacock. Girls 5 Eva was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful. So I was not in a rush to cancel Peacock myself. I had it previously.
It's just the overarching point about tennis. Do you know where the Zachary match was on today, at least here? So on what the Djokovic was on Tennis Channel. And I was like, I don't want to see this Djokovic match anymore. And where was Zachary? Okay, wait, it's no longer in DirecTV. Okay.
Yeah, that was only done after the first week. Yep.
And then wait, it's not on NBC yet. That's not money. It's not on Peacock. ESPN's not doing the French.
Yep. But you probably have
on some random regional sports network that plays the Clippers.
Is that really? I didn't
find that.
First of all, I'm jealous that you have that option. I'm pretty much stuck with
it. Might have been on yours. Like it was on like whichever, like network is playing the Wolves in Minnesota.
Wow.
Or,
I wish I would have
some local. It was on like RSN, the
okay.
RSN.
Yeah.
It's just like if tennis was ever had their stuff together as like an entity,
okay.
They would inform you where to find things. They just make it so hard on
an older tennis fan is probably screaming at us like you people have no idea how good you have it, that ESPN has taken over 3 of the slams and that we get wall to wall from them because this used to be the way the world worked.
But hey, it's 2021 and
I agree with you.
It's like you're making it too hard. OnlySlams rather.
Yes.
We'll get to the
different thing happening on OnlyFans. Yeah.
OnlySlams is trying to bring a new audience, but it's tough when like they don't even know where to find the match. And as I say that, by the way, Swiatek hits a volley lob winner on match point.
Your Peacock is apparently quicker than mine because the point is about to be set up. I'm watching. This is match point number 2. Is that the one?
There was a break to go back to 5-5, but
right. I'm way far behind. How am I so far behind? I'm at 5-4 right now. Holy,
you're a problem. This is bad podcasting.
Oh man, this is a terrible podcast.
We're trying to bring new listeners, and it's hard to find where.
No, okay, so Greg, but we do have to acknowledge that we are spoiled. The truth is, the French Open is the problem now, and not that ESPN has a terrible problem where they forget that like we sometimes want to watch the tennis too, and they spend large swaths of their TV programming just doing studio stuff while tennis is being played because it's not Roger Federer or Serena Williams that's playing, and so they assume their audience has no interest, so they go back to and as much as I love all of their analysts, I would like to watch the tennis. And so oddly, the Tennis Channel is the only place that gets that because they know their audience is people that desperately care about tennis. So they're the only network that's really good about what would have happened when that match that made me fall in love with Paula Badosa was going on. ESPN would have never gone there in a million years. Right. They would have stayed in studio. They would have, shown about 100 highlight packages, gone to an interview. They would have done anything they could have other than showing me Badosa Bogdan. And they would have said, well, you can go watch ESPN Plus. If you really care that much, flip over to ESPN Plus. And that's fine. Like I will eventually.
You're not growing the game.
Exactly right. Whereas Tennis Channel gets me Badosa Bogdan, and it makes me fall in love with the most important tennis player now that's ever lived. That's the way that it goes. But to your point, I want it all centralized in one spot. I don't really understand. I guess maybe NBC Sports Network's not going to exist any longer. So I never really understood why NBC didn't just try to take the whole package for the French Open and have all of it and Maybe it was because Sinclair said, no, if we're going to own a network that's a tennis network, we have to have some part of one of the slams. So we'll always outbid in order to keep whatever part of it. I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is and what the story is.
I mean, the whole tape delay, it's all a problem.
It's a fiasco, yes.
It's an issue. It's a branding issue, which we might have too. That's what you were getting at to me. We might have to change the name. But I think I'm down for a name change.
Well, I thought this might run in, like lean into your situation as well. So I just out of interest the other day, I searched OnlySlams to see how long it took for us to come up. This is something that I talk about constantly. All right, this is where I'm gonna get really nerdy, Greg. I know otherwise this is not a nerdy podcast at all. It's talking about tennis.
Bunch of cool guys.
As you've referenced before, I'm also a professional wrestling guy, and I have great certainty that I'm the only person that's dropped tennis and professional wrestling podcasts in the last week. When the WWE changes the name of one of their wrestlers, I regularly say, if I search this person's name, they used to have a wrestler named Apollo Crews, and they decided one day to just make him Apollo. He'll just be Apollo now. And I said, how long will it take when you search Apollo to come up with a professional wrestler? That might give you an answer as to whether or not it's a good idea for them to do this. And so I hold myself to the same standard. I said, let's search OnlySlams and see what happens. And there are some other OnlySlams things. There is, ironically, a Instagram account called OnlySlams, which is a collection of steer wrestling videos. Now,
we can take them out.
I'm kind of willing to compete, popular, right? Yeah, I'm willing to listen. Like, we'll see what it is. There's another OnlySlams account that's nothing other than like parkour videos. I don't know what slams has to do with parkour. And the one that's most troubling to me, and I don't really know exactly what it is I just searched specifically OnlySlams podcast, and I found us first. So that made good. That's the good news, is if you search OnlySlams podcast, you'll find us. But somehow in searching it, I was directed to a company whose name is legitimately OnlySlams. If you go to OnlySlams.com, it's some sort of sports branding or marketing company.
Well, that could give us the window.
Presumably, they wouldn't love this. So yeah,
I do like the idea because it really explained what the podcast is, which is, I think, job number one for a title.
It's a good thing to do.
We might have to change it to Courts of Thunder. If anyone listening or watching OnlySlams on YouTube listens to the Around the NFL program, years and years ago, Mark Sessler said I was going to leave that NFL podcast to start my women's tennis.
The thing blog that you really wanted to do.
Yeah, Courts of Thunder. And I think this is the step in that direction. I mean, right now, if you are watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my limited edition Naomi Osaka sweatshirt.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. That is a good looking sweatshirt.
And then on the back, I mean, it's nice.
Man, that is nice. That's really cool. I like that.
I should have worn it last week and supported her. I forgot, but
way to go. Way to go.
This was good. It sold out quick, so I had to get the white. But yeah, I think Courts of Thunder might be it, for Wimbledon, but we'll see.
All right, we will leave that alone until it will be OnlySlams for sure. And by the way, thank you to my friend Sam Angel for cleaning up the art for us. It will make it OnlySlams at least through the end of this tournament.
And thank you for the people that have let us know. A couple of two that said like haven't been as into tennis, and this is getting me back.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. So
what's neat about that too?
Tell your friends.
Oh, please do that. And for some of my listeners that checked in to do that, I was like, damn it, can't this justify that I should be allowed to talk more tennis on my own show? Like, can't that justify that? But ideally, this is the only show that I do at some point, and I don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. All right, that'll do it for this week. We're going to do a semifinal. So a quick turnaround for episode 4. We'll do a semifinal preview after Wednesday's matches. So We'll get the next 2 days, then we'll do a semifinal preview, and then that'll be that until after the tournament is over. So that's how it goes. But yes,
I mean, I can't wait. We'll be next Monday we'll be popping champagne for
Paula Badosa
French
after she
Open
wins
champion.
her first ever slam title. I'll have her shirt on by that point. I gotta see if she's got gear. I need it.
I don't think she does.
No, that's a real
if
shame.
if Badosa wins, you
We
have
might,
that.
we might have
corner.
to launch it. Yeah, we might have to launch it. All right. Thank you for not only checking in and watching the show, but please continue to like and subscribe. It means a lot. He's Gregg. I'm Glenn. This has been Only Slams.
Game OnlySlams.